Welcome to More Than Renovating, a renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to the Renovate and Real Estate podcast / YouTube. You'll find these on YouTube as well. And today my special guest, very special, is a gentleman called Reece Wenzel. And Reece has been a student of mine for quite a few years. He's been in and around the property circles for a little while. He's very determined to learn as much as he can about property and investment, including renovation as one of his strategies. And we'll talk to Reece today. I'm going to ask Reece lots and lots of questions, and let's find out about Reece's journey. How are you, Reece?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Linda.
Just start by letting people know like whereabouts you are. How old are you, Reece? Are you prepared to reveal that?
Yeah, I just turned 28 last weekend.
A young fella. All right, so 28. So you started to get really serious about property and property education, at around about 25?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And
would have been 25.
Why was that, do you think?
I had a history in architecture and a design background, and I've seen that other people make a lot of wealth out of property, and it just really interested me.
Yeah, you were young to get onto the property train, which is really, really nice to hear. What drew you to thinking about renovating and building, and not just the standard, buy a property and move into it?
Yes, at the time I was actually living in Brisbane in a share house with an old school friend, and he was really interested in, I guess, wealth creation and through property, and he started the renovation sort of word in putting that word into my mind actually, and we sat down, we'd listened to and watched a few videos and YouTube and podcasts together about it. And that's sort of where it started. Was just I then took an interest on my own and went on the side there and started researching myself and looking a bit deeper.
So you're working at the moment. What do you do day by day at the moment?
Yeah, I'm a landscape architect.
Yeah.
I studied architecture first and then transferred to landscape architecture. And then now currently work for local government. So I was lucky enough when I moved with my new property that I was able to find a job really close to home.
Oh, that's really cool. All right. So I saw you inside our group posting photos of this new property. So let's just take us through, when did you buy the property and how did you come across the deal? And is that your first property?
Yeah, it's my first property. So it all started, I was just on realestate.com. So I was sort of starting to getting ready to purchase a property. And I started looking at renovations and properties to be able to flip. So during the process, I had about 3 contracts that I didn't end up going through with, just because something inside of me said no, or I wasn't comfortable with my own ability. So I just waited and found a real estate agent who wanted to meet up in person and just talk about what he had to offer. And through that process, he started showing me off the plan units, which I told him I didn't want at all. And then he sort of we sort of had, I guess, a connection in terms of property investing, and he'd done some similar sort of flipping and new builds. And we sort of started looking at vacant lots of land, and then ended up finding a vacant lot in Ipswich in a built area, already established, quite an old area, and found a small lot for about 75K.
All right, so that sounds good and a really nice place to start at 75K. What excited you about buying in an area that was already established?
The already established area just sort of caught my eyes. A lot of character homes in this area, and as we've seen of late, that whole Hampton style was really kicked off. And I know there's something about an old Queenslander that really tugs my heartstrings growing up out in the country. Living on a dairy farm, my grandma's old Queenslander house there. And then seeing the new developments and seeing how much their land is selling for, and a new lot at about 450 square meters is selling for about $200,000. Yeah, so that's the starting price, and it just goes up from there in terms of who's developing it.
Yeah, right. So you knew right from the start that there was potential for profit.
Yeah, definitely, especially on that entry price, and they say you make your money when you buy.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you come across that block? Like that was just through conversations with the real estate agent? Did he how did it all unfold?
Yeah, so the real estate agent who I met with, we started having this conversation, and then we found this vacant lot that he showed me on a weekend. We went to about 3 different lots at the time, and this one really stuck out to me in the existing area. It was a suburb that had a reasonably good name. There's a few suburbs in the area that don't, so I knew sort of what I was looking out for and which areas I wanted to buy in. And then from there, he saw how cheap this lot of land was. There happened to be a lot next door to it, and I befriended the real estate agent, and we put 2 offers in front of the agent at the same time. They were offering, or they were wanting 95,000 at the time. We put 2 offers in at 75k each, and they accepted it. And so he's building next door to me, and we catch up regularly for coffees and beer, and yeah, he's become a really good friend of mine.
So there you go. I'm always saying to people, don't be afraid of real estate agents. They hold the key to a lot. But I never really expected anyone to go through a real estate agent, buy a property and end up neighbours. But that's a really nice story. So good on. Maybe he's going to bring you some more deals too. Have you put that on the table?
Yes, yeah. So I guess he acted as a buyer's agent in a way, but I never ended up paying for his services or anything like that. So, but I've helped him out with his colour choices, and since then. So yeah, it's both ways. And
his landscape design, I bet.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. All right. So you help somebody out with colour choices. So tell us what made you feel confident enough to start helping somebody else out with colour choices? Because usually young fellas, it's something where they say, I'm going to leave that to my sister or my mum.
Just having the design background probably helped me a little bit, but just the community and the education about renovations and the material and the education that you guys have put out, the community as well, being able to approach them and being able to put out tiles or colours or paint swatches in front of them, and for them to be able to have their comment is pretty invaluable.
Yeah. So yes or no. Tile on the right, tile on the left. Tell me what to do. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So like, and I know that inside the community, well, look at your expertise, right? You're a landscape architect, you're in there. And then so inside there are interior designers and colour consultants and just people that have been obsessed with property and renovation for years and years. So I ask questions myself inside the group. It's pretty cool. All right, so you went looking for a renovation, and that's where you started, but you found this property that came in front of you, this land, and thought, I'm going to do a build. How on earth did you know how to build, who to go to, who to get the plans done through?
Well, yeah, finally, you asked that question. The real estate agent who I became friends with, he introduced me to a builder that he uses.
Yeah.
And part of that conversation that I had with him early days was just being able to create an income from your property. So he sort of showed me a builder that he worked with that does these flexible designed houses. So it's like the dual occupancy sort of style of housing where you've got parentheses, or it's sort of a bit modified. So the design that we ended up going with is kind of a flexi home where you could have an older child or an older parent living with you, but down the other end of the house, out of the way, and you wouldn't tell that they're there. They've got their own kitchenette and their own bathroom, their own bedroom, their own living space. So it was quite a unique design, and he was able to help me bring that to life.
Oh, so clever. Such a clever idea. All right. So you live in that property right now?
I do currently. That's really to maximise the government grants that were available at the time. So I was able to cash in on the first homeowners grant.
Great idea. Great idea. My kids are doing the same, right? So it's a great idea. The second part of that is, do you rent out that other component of the house, and which side did you choose? Like the kitchenette side, or did you go the bigger, more luxurious side of the house you created?
I've gone the bigger luxurious side.
Oh, interesting.
And the tenant is expected to move in at the end of January, start of February. He's a doctor who's moving to the area to work at the hospital nearby. So I was pretty strict on my criteria on who was moving in.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was in no rush to fill that position. I was just waiting for the right person, because got to kind of live with them, kind of not live with them. But it was a tough process, but I found the right person.
Definitely one to be patient about. A patient doctor, get that? I didn't say that on purpose. That just came out because I'm funny. All right. So definitely a circumstance to take your time with, because if you get the right person in there, you're right. And if you get somebody else in and you're going to stay in the property, it's a bit of a nightmare until you get them out. All right. So why did you decide to take the bigger, better half and not do the it's just funny watching people and their choices, and not do the smaller and not live in the smaller part and rent out the bigger part for more money?
It definitely crossed my mind, but I was able to use it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with 2 living. I use this spare bedroom now as the office, so I can work from home, really. So I still like to have friends over every now and then, and I thought I could rent out the smaller portion for someone who's really just needing the space or a bed and works locally, be at a doctor or the highway's really close and there's a lot of facilities around as well.
Oh, brilliant. I wasn't having a go. You can make your own choices. Okay, so in saying
I like the idea of an ensuite. I've never had one before.
Lux. Reece lives in a luxury brand new property he's created for himself as a first home buyer. Love it. All right, so there's a lot of work in Ipswich which draws people to rent. Like, what is the rental demand like?
Yeah, in this area, I think the rental market's about less than 2%. So it's a lot of families, a lot of home owners, owner occupiers in the area. So there's the hospitals, universities, and 3K from the city centre. So and there's also the major highway, which is in the other direction, about 3Ks as well. So it's just really accessible.
So Reece, you bought the land for 75 and you built the house. How much do you think it cost you to build the house? And I know you shared your journey with us, so I saw the fixtures and the fittings that you put in, which are just bang on, mind you.
So
and you did the sketch plans first. Had it all worked out, and the mood board, had it all sorted before you started. Made me so happy. It's so proud to see all of that unfold. Like, honestly, I just went, tick, this guy's on it, it was great. Okay, so how much it cost you to build?
Yeah, so the build cost was $215, and then with about 10K, 15K extra actually, just in terms of we had to cut across the road for some connections, and just some higher-end fittings in terms of flooring.
So is that what you budgeted for? Like, is that what you expected the build to cost you?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. Under 300,000, I was really happy with, and I think we came in at about 295.
Oh, I think it's personally, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant
for a brand new house.
Yeah, I agree. Were there any hiccups along the way?
Yeah, the connection across the road. The connection across the road was something I just completely overlooked. Being in the industry as well, it was just one of those things.
Yeah, one of those things we have a little contingency for that always gets used.
The benefit of that was with the real estate dealing next door, we were able to split that cost. So so the tunneling cost and closing the road, we were able to cut that cost in half just by having that conversation with the service providers. They just had to do it once and just put a connection on our side of the road. So
did you have a mini meltdown when you found out? Like, how did you do? What went on in Reece's head?
Yeah, like I was cutting it pretty thin at that point in time, just in terms of near the end of the build, and then all of a sudden you got to connect it all and you're like, uh-oh. It was fine. It's just the case of looking at finance and seeing the best way to do that. So no issues there, and it's all done now and in a good position.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You are in a good position, which leads me to this. What's next, do you think?
What's
next? So you've got plenty of equity in that property.
Yes.
You have a loan against that property. You don't have to share the numbers. It's up to you, but you've got a loan against that property, and you've got some equity in there.
Yep.
Are you resting, taking a breath? Are you hungry for something else?
Yeah, so before I moved in, I just had a few agents come through the house just to sort of get an idea, because I moved in June last year, 2021. So I was waiting to see that was when the market was starting to go a bit bananas, and I thought I'd just ask the question as to what they thought. And they gave me an indication of about 400k plus would be the starting point. So there's a potentially about 100k in equity there, and the loan's about 260. So yeah, there's definitely enough in there to start thinking about doing something else. And I'll start looking, and I'll keep the real estate agent in contact with me because he's doing these every day.
Yeah, and he might come across something and think, oh, this would be perfect for Reece, you know?
Yeah,
So
and he has. Sorry. He's talked to me a couple of times, yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you ready to go yet?" Or I was like, "Oh, give me a little bit of time just to build up a safety buffer there for all those unexpected costs and things that you can't necessarily fund just out of the whim."
Yeah, there's something that happens when you've borrowed money and you've done your build and you just like the connection issue. There's always that something extra. You can feel like, oh, that's a lot, and sometimes you just need to settle until you feel okay. Some people will go just one after the other, like they'll just keep going. The thing I like about property is that everyone can do it at their own pace. It's not a race. We're playing the long game. You've made a wonderful start, for somebody who's under 30 to be sitting in let's say what it is. You're sitting in a brand new property that you've already got some equity in at the same time you have a rental income from is a really nice place to be. And good on you for thinking beyond what everybody gets sold is, hey, Reece, why don't you go and buy a brand new off the plan unit in the Gold Coast or wherever, Yeah.
And even a new build out here in one of these developments that they're doing, there's a lot of land available, and they just seem to be able to find more land, and a lot to seem to increase in price, and it seems to be hard to build equity in those situations.
Yeah, I agree. We built in Helensvale in Queensland.
Yes,
Helensburgh's in New South Wales. Helensvale in Queensland. We had some land that was like a little snippet that they'd cut off from the edges of the golf course. So I think the golf course actually put it on the market. And we built a house there. And the beauty of doing a new build there was that we took on the immediate value of an already established suburb, and the land releases were a long way away. So it just kind of it's a smart move. It's a much smarter move than doing some of the new developments and hoping and praying that there's equity in it in the end.
Yeah, and I get the beauty of a character style house, but it's a new home.
Yeah. Okay, so why did you choose?
Oh yeah.
I know you said you like Queensland homes, but like, why did you choose to finish off your home in the colours that you did and the particular style that you did?
Yeah, so the area is actually a lot of it switches in a mining overlay. So the character style house or building on stumps sort of was almost forced upon me. But it worked out really well because I think building a new house, brick slab house would look pretty funny in an area that's surrounded by these beautiful homes.
Great.
So that sort of guided the decision to build a character style house, and I was able to use the course and the education I've got along the way to help pick out some nice subtle colours that'll last forever.
Yeah, and the cornices and the skirts and the architects and all those things that create the character in that home.
Yeah,
did really, really well. All right. So is there anything, when you were first thinking about jumping into property, and I know that you've done other property education courses as well as mine, was there anything that made you feel like was daunting about making that first move?
It was just obtaining too much information and just sitting on that and not doing anything about it. Because there's so much out there, and new build, renovations, it can be quite daunting in terms of how much information there is. But unless you start actually doing, you don't realise the depth of it and what's actually involved. So I think because I didn't do something for so long, it sort of made it worse to actually start to do something.
Yeah, but when you did start, like really kind of unfolded for you a little bit. You did start to look for renovations, and then you met this real estate agent, and then you ended up with a new build, which is...
Yeah, I'd almost bought 3 houses prior to that on different contracts, and they fell through, or they didn't fall through because of anything, but I just didn't want to go ahead with it. And that was probably more, I just wasn't really true to myself about how much profit was in them. And I think inside I really knew that there wasn't a lot of uplift that I could do to these smaller homes.
Yeah. So what did you learn about yourself, Reece? Did you do any DIY on the project?
Um, I helped. I got a lot of say in the actual design, so there was just some decisions that were being made, or at the time they just didn't really make sense. And I was just like, why is this happening? Like the stairs are going the opposite direction to where the carport was, and just some internal issues. So I just got to have a lot of input along the way using my design background. So it's kind of I guess made me feel a little bit more relaxed, just knowing that I got to have a bit of input and I could see the build happen along the way, and get to have some say in what happened.
And to trust, and you've probably, well, I know you have grown in confidence and learned to trust your decision-making ability. There'd be a lot of people who look at a young fella who just go, okay, he's not going to be able to choose colours. He's not going to be able to pick curtains or blinds. Like we as a society should not put people in a box. I'm learning that so much. The more I work with people, the more I learn. People bring transferable skills with them, things that they've learned through their lives, things that they're prepared to have a go at. People surprise me all day long, and you were one of those, Reece. I was so, when you put that mood board up, I'm like, far out, look at him go. There's your tiles and your carpet and your bench tops and your kitchen tops and your lights. You just had it all sorted. And it was great for us to see it all on one page, because we're like, yeah, you're on the right path. This is great. This is going to look great. So when you're in the house now, does it feel and look for you like you imagined?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's light and bright, and it's a very small lot that I built on, but we're able to do 2.7 ceilings, so it kind of feels quite large and spacious.
Airy.
Yeah, it's airy. It's light and bright. Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's all I wanted it really.
Oh, that's unreal. All right. So out of the build process, what did you enjoy the most? What have you enjoyed the most out of it?
Picking tiles is pretty fun.
Oh, go Reece. Yeah, me too. I like it too.
Like at the same time, there was a lot of visits to the tile shop.
Not unusual. One of the yeah.
The tiler had provided, or the builder had provided a list of places that they get, I guess, better discounts at. So it really limited the choice in terms of shops. But it was really fun going there every weekend and taking samples home, and yeah, it was just a really fun process.
Yeah, I'm glad you found it fun, because some people actually make it bigger than it is. It has to be big enough in our minds that we take the time to choose good tiles, right? Because they're hard to move. It's not something, if it's a wall that you can paint a different color, who cares? You can do that in half a day. But when tiles are down and you've paid for the labor, they're down for a long time, you would hope. So yeah, we put some importance on choosing tiles, but some people put so much importance on choosing tiles, and so much overwhelm creeps in with all of the choices that are available to us, that we never get started. We don't choose any. And then it's just back and forth and back and forth. So good on you for actually settling on something. And it probably wasn't a bad thing when the builder says, these are the shops I want you to go to, and this is the budget that you have to choose from, because it eliminates a lot of the other tiles. And then you've just got to focus on, picking the best ones you can from that choice range.
Yeah, it reels you back into reality pretty quickly.
Yeah. And did you feel like you wanted to throw more money at something in particular?
Yeah, definitely. And I, like I said earlier, I threw a bit more money at the flooring. It's a vinyl laminate, but it's one of those hybrid versions where they said you can basically hose it down if something was to ever go wrong. So eventually I'd like to rent this out, and just having that peace of mind that the boards aren't going to split or pop is what I wanted, and I'm happy to throw the cost at that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. And people stick their head in the sand a lot when they rent a place out, or even living in a place themselves, that those beautiful timber floors are going to last, and sometimes they don't. Those floors, with particularly if they're not backed with anything waterproof, they just don't last. And if you get tenants in there with a sloppy mop, or they don't wipe up their spills soon enough, those floors will start to pop. So good on you for spending the money on something that matters. And I've seen your floors, and the color choice is just spot on.
Yeah, when a light oak color, so which adds to that lightness.
Yeah.
I was more worried about a fridge leaking or a washing machine, or it's one of those things or a dishwasher, just one of those things that's just out of someone's control. And
I agree. The lady over the road had these gorgeous, gorgeous floors. She's as careful as they come. She's immaculate. And so are her family. They're really fussy. And we were living next door. I did a flip, and then they saw what we got for our house, so they decided to sell, which is pretty funny. But her floors had already started to get damaged, like water damaged, and she just went, wow, she didn't expect it, because they bought top of the range floors in price, but they didn't really think about the usability. They just picked these beautiful floors without thinking about how functional they'll be. So I think, choosing floors is hard. So I'm glad you conquered the tiles, and I'm glad you conquered the hybrid flooring as well.
Yeah.
All right. So did you go all out with your Hamden's look? Did you do the freestanding bath? Did you do what did you choose?
I didn't have a lot of bench space, so I had a friend make an island bench that you could wheel away, and timber top and white painted sides.
Perfect for the kitchen.
That was probably for the kitchen. That was probably the big ticket item, really. And it's more so just in terms of the furnishing at the moment, I guess, that sort of helped bring up that Hampton sort of look. It's like I'm not here long term, hopefully. Who knows yet? But
you don't want me to say show me around your lounge room, do you, Reece? Because I know that there's probably no money left over for furniture, which happens to us all.
Talking about unexpected costs, I was thinking about the price of curtains.
Oh, yeah, I agree. So next build you do, number one tip, and I always do it now, is whenever I choose window sizes, the builder says, oh, why don't you have a window this by this? I look at the list of blinds and curtains that I can buy off the rack. My window sizes are chosen according to the blinds and the curtains that I can buy off the rack. That's what determines the size of my windows. Yeah. I've learned. Yeah.
And it's just me here at the moment until the housemate moves in. So I've been able to just do things progressively as well. So the next thing is the screens over the windows.
Yeah. What have your mates said?
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, they were really surprised, actually. We had Christmas here with some friends of mine from school, and they were just blown away by how well it looked in the end. So I had another friend do a renovation up at Friday, and we picked similar colours. He went more the coastal chic, and I went more that country sort of Hampton style. So there was a few crossovers in terms of colour choices, but they're really happy with how
both of you have chosen perfectly well for the demographic in which you're in, so that's awesome. So when do you think your next one is? You're going to let the dust settle for a little while, check out your lending perhaps?
Yes,
and just keep your mind open to a particular deal, or are you going to hunt down something in
at the moment this year I'm happy just to just sort of recoup some costs and get ready to go again. I'm in no particular rush. I'm very young as well, like what we've talked about. But maybe towards the end of the year, start of 2023. But if something was to come along, who knows?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Reece, for joining me today. Thank you so much for sharing where you're at. I love it when people just get started and give things a go. And I know that you were so keen inside our group just to learn everything that you could. And I know that you just take stuff from us, and you'll do somebody else's education and take what you can from there. And you're just, building this amazing foundation. And I can't wait to see where you will be in, say, 10 years. And then even in 20 years. Well, definitely retired. Let's just say that. You're going to be one of those guys that retires early. No, fingers crossed, you're on the right path. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks, Reece. If anybody wants to work with Reece, are you up for working with somebody alongside somebody in some kind of joint venture agreement or anything
definitely.
like that?
Yeah, there's multiple ways that I'd probably be able to help out. So I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Yeah, and I know that you've got a lot of skills to bring to the table and experience already.
Even if it's just plant choices.
Oh, not just, I mean, if you can work out where stair design should be and all that kind of stuff, you can really read plans, and you've done this build and you know costs, and you've got your fingertips on tradies around the area that you'd use again, and some perhaps that you would never use again. All of those things you can take into your next project. So that's excellent. So if somebody wants to work with Reece in some kind of joint venture agreement, or just connect with him, they're really welcome to do so. I'm going to read out your email address. That's all right?
Yes, go for it.
It's Wenzel, Wenzel, wealth, WE8LTH, Wenzel Wealth @gmail.com.
Thanks, Brenda.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Don't forget to tune in to YouTube and watch a few of the other videos on YouTube. Listen to the podcasts, like and subscribe. Follow us along in the Mums and Dads Renovators and Decorators group. See you guys.